You have 10 minutes to make our daughter disappear. I gave birth to a girl with Down syndrome. My husband couldn't take it and gave me an ultimatum. Either you leave her here or I'm divorcing you, he declared. We lived together 10 years, and I never thought he'd be so cruel. Give here. She'll mess up your chest shape. She's hungry, and she's our child. Who's gonna feed her? I begged. When we have other healthy kids, you can feed them all you want, Mike shouted. Our daughter was an angel. She was calm and fell asleep in minutes. Children like your daughter require special care. Be prepared, the doctor warned. I smiled when I heard those words. I'd waited for her so long. We're considering putting her up for adoption, Mike said. I couldn't believe what he said. I was shaking. I could hardly contain my rage, but Mike went on. What would we tell our friends and family? He said in disgust. I was so appalled, I chased Mike out of the room. Let me examine your baby, a nurse said. Will she catch up with her peers? I asked tentatively. It's hard to tell now, but at the moment, she's behind, the nurse concluded. Mike burst in and yelled, We're not keeping her! What kind of life is this? My daughter cried so hard. I turned away and closed my eyes. I heard Mike pick her up, so I calmed down and dozed off. Then I recall searching the entire hospital, barefoot, for my daughter. Mike had taken her to a nurse to give her to an adoptive family. I tore up the adoption papers and threw it in his face. You had her. She's your problem, not mine, Mike yelled. The same day, he stuck divorce papers in my face. You just leave me and my daughter alone, I fired back. Mike left me penniless and blocked all my cards. I couldn't even pay the hospital bill. I walked home with my daughter. No one came to get us. I stopped by a supermarket. I barely had enough cash for bread. My neighbor gave me a cleaning job at her cafe. I washed toilets, floors, and dishes at nights. You brought your baby again? What kind of mom are you? The manager scolded. When customers came, my girl and I would go home and sleep. My girl was constantly ill. It was my worst nightmare. She's our daughter. Could you watch her for just an hour? I'm begging you, I cried into the phone. It's your fault she's so sickly. You figure it out. It's not too late to ditch her and have healthy kids, Mike barked. That night, my daughter was taken by an ambulance. I looked at her through the glass of ICU and cried. I needed strength to hold on and money for her treatment. I took a cleaning job in the unit to always be close to her. Your daughter needs expensive medicine, urgently, Doc explained. Lend me some money. I'll give it back once she's better, I begged. She can't get better, but you can. Give her away. Mike cut me off. I didn't hear what he was saying because a nurse came up to me. Dear, if you can't handle a special needs child, I can recommend a wonderful adoptive family, she suggested politely. I knocked the folder out of her hands and gave her a piece of my mind. I vowed to get the money for her treatment, whatever it took. Give me half the money for the house and I'll move out, I cried into the phone. The divorce is already settled. All you get is a condo in the suburbs. Good thing you have a disabled kid. You can live off her disability benefits, he jeered. I got a second job and moved to the suburban condo. I didn't call anyone and didn't tell a thing to my friends. I'd just clean stairwells, hospitals, and rooms 24/7. I bought my daughter necessary medicine and pretty clothes. My back was killing me, but I picked her up anyway. I knew my daughter was my whole world, and it was just the two of us. One day, Mike called, offering money. "I'm getting remarried. I'll pay you to keep silent." "I don't want my new wife finding out about our mistake," Mike said. "Let's make one thing clear. You were my only mistake. We don't need your money. I earn enough," I declared. My girl was sitting in a chair and slowly eating. She smiled at me, but bitter tears rolled down my cheeks. He wanted to pay us to stay low. He called my child, the dearest person in my life, a mistake. I took my daughter and went to one of my jobs. 6 months after the wedding, Mike's new wife cheated on him. She preferred his rich boss, and Mike got fired. While taking a walk, we bumped into him. Devastated, my ex was wandering around aimlessly. "You're so happy as if you were healthy," he quipped. My girl and I had been through so much in those 4 difficult years. But now I know. Life is like a chessboard. All pieces take their place when the time comes. My daughter, the kindest girl in the world, took out her handkerchief. With her tiny hands, she reached to Mike and wiped his tears with the handkerchief he once covered her face with.